All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Unbounded. Today, I'm with David Lee.
Hello, how are
from
we?
Smith Parka.
Yes, this is my
And
brand.
so I want you to introduce yourself, your name, who you are, where we are, and then also how you even got here.
Okay.
But if you forget all that, I'll kind of.
It's kind of a long story. Well,
yeah, let's do it.
Thank you for having me on here. I'm David Lee. I'm the founder and designer of Smith Parka. Smith Parka is a brand I started in 2014 as it was kind of a side project, to be honest. I was a menswear designer in the fashion industry for 20 years.
Oh wow!
Designing clothing for like all the big name brands that you would find at like Macy's or Bloomingdale's.
Okay.
Right. Working for some of the biggest companies and fashion companies in America.
Yeah.
Just doing that grind. And like, I remember when I first got into the industry, I was like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I started designing, and it was very unfulfilling. You kind of get duped, and you dupe yourself because they don't lie to you. They're not like, oh, this is going to be a great experience.
Yeah.
They like, you're going to work hard. You're going to be sitting behind a desk. You're just going to be like, kind of like just making,
Were you designing and also like patterning? Like what were you doing
I think a lot of people, the misconception of a designer is like, you just kind of go in there and you start like frivolously like making stuff, right? You don't. You start off as an intern, an assistant, associate designer, senior designer, junior director. You climb the level.
Gotcha.
And I've like climbed the whole thing.
Yeah.
All the way to creative director. And in 2014, I think I was at like a design director level at that point. And I felt by that time I was already 14 years into the industry, and I felt unfulfilled.
Yeah.
I was kind of like a pencil pusher kind of like thing. And you wouldn't necessarily think that, but in those companies, you're kind of like pushing the pencil a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I started Smith Parka as like a side project, just to kind of get my creative juices flowing, do my own thing. It was my own brand. And I started making labels, and I started making bags. And that's the first bag I ever made is over there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I put that there. You can't see it on the video, but I put that there to kind of like let me know how far I've gotten.
There we go.
Yeah, that little one right there.
Yeah, that little one. Better. Okay.
And I started making stuff. I bought like a sewing machine, and I started making stuff, and I just fell in love with making stuff because I went to FIT for tailoring. So that's how I learned how to make stuff.
Okay.
And then I was just at home in my apartment. I had a sewing machine. I was just cutting my patterns out, buying like kind of upcycling before upcycling was a thing.
Right.
I was just like taking like pants and jackets and cutting them up and using the fabrics, and then I then started going to fabric stores and then leather stores, and like kind of like started upping my game and like what I was making.
Yeah.
And in 2000, I would say 2017, 16, I had enough of the industry. I quit my job.
Okay.
This is before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I started Smith Parka, and it was a menswear brand.
What was that tipping point when you're like, what was that? I'm going to go all in versus I'm just going to do this on the side in the margins.
It was kind of a combination. It was like a perfect storm of like, I had it at my job. They were pushing me very hard.
Yeah.
They kept putting more stuff on my plate. It was funny. I was very successful at my job, and the more success I found, the more work I got.
Yep.
For those people that work hard, and then they see you working hard and doing it good, and they just keep giving because you're accountable for it now, right?
Yeah.
And I just got fed up there. I won't say anything negative because it wasn't negative. It was more like I was just fed up.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to live that dream. Everybody wants to live that dream of like quitting their job and starting their own business. I did it. I legit did it.
Yeah.
I left a very well-paying job to do that. And I fell flat on my face.
Oh.
Yeah, 2018. I wouldn't say flat on my face. I didn't realize what I was doing. It was very difficult. I thought if I just came out with cool stuff, that it would just like happen. Like if you make it, they will come, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I realized, it's just so much more to that. I was making like
Oh,
$500
wow.
bags, like $500, $600, like really intricate bags for men.
Yeah.
And it was just, for me, in hindsight from now, it was just such a wrong thing to do. High
Right.
price point, discerning customer.
Yeah.
Guys don't buy things that aren't like name brand. That's just like
Right.
facts.
Okay. Got it.
So I ended up having to stop, and then I ended up going back into the industry. I got a job at a pretty well-known footwear company doing creative direction for them.
Yeah.
And then living it up, had a nice job again, and then pandemic happened, and then I had to pivot.
Wait, let me get this straight. 2016.
Yeah.
Had enough. Peaced out. Created your company.
Yes.
And then 2018.
2017, 2018.
You're like, this is not working out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back.
Yeah.
Do the grind again, or the corporate. I would say corporate.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then the pandemic.
And then
I was kind of like invested into having my job again. It was a great job.
Yeah.
I had a lot of creative freedom. Actually, it was like actually kind of like an ideal job. No job is ideal, but it was pretty ideal.
Yeah.
And then when I got to a point where I felt on top of the world just crumbled.
Yep.
Literally,
it's
just
2020.
It was 2020. I got furloughed from my job.
Wow. Okay.
It was kind of a blessing because I was turning 40 at the time, and I was in the worst shape of my life. I was like in a weird headspace because I had went through this roller coaster right before that.
Yeah.
So it came out of the pandemic for me. Came at quite a good time. I was able to get myself mentally well. I got myself into the best shape of my life. And then when it was time to face reality again and looking for a job, I was, going through all the routes, the LinkedIn, the asking your network, blah, blah, blah. And it just gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yes. There's a feeling that you don't like.
It's very visceral, too. It's like, why do I have to go through all this? I've proven myself for 20 years, you know? Yeah. And then when you don't get jobs that you, like, are qualified for, it's such a... It takes from you, you know, and like it shouldn't, but it does.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, that's just like a natural feeling. So when I was going through that job search, I told myself, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. I was like, let me start Smith & Park again. What did I learn from my last stint? I learned lower price point, concentrate on less of I had like a plethora of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just hard to kind of sell so many different things because I was hand making them. So if I sold one, then I didn't have it anymore. Exactly. And to like take pictures and advertise, it's like, it was just a hard grind to do.
Yeah.
So I learned from that experience, and I was like, let me try again. Cause I had all these labels. I had all the stuff to make things.
Yeah.
I had leather, I had my sewing machine, I had labels, and I have like the business acumen to kind of understand it.
Yeah.
And a little bit of experience of failing. So I kind of put that all together.
That's amazing.
And I was like, let me come out with one product. It was actually, I remember I was with my family one day for Christmas. I was staying over at my brother's house, and we were all thinking about, and this is like during COVID, right? So like everybody's kind of just cooped up and thinking about aspirational things, you know?
Life.
And my brother and my older brother and his wife, they're amazing people, and they were kind of giving me a little bit of business advice, and they were like, you should come out with one product that people really like, and then we just market that and then just keep on going with that. So I was like, I kind of sat on that idea for a little bit.
That's amazing that they was like,
it was like kind of like an organic way of coming to it. And so what I did was I kind of sat on that, I marinated on that idea. Yeah. And then I said to myself, what I really want, what is my ideal customer? Yeah. And at the time beforehand, I was like, it was me. Yeah. I was trying so hard to sell to me. And what really is...
I was trying so hard to sell to me.
Yeah.
Instead of
what a real customer is. And what's really eye-opening about that is when you talk about yourself, anybody, I don't care who you are,
Yeah.
you are special. You are unique.
Yeah.
So to pretend that everybody has the same, wants that you have and the same aesthetic that you have is asking for too much.
Wow.
Like I was
like
selling
that.
it to me, and every time I would meet somebody, if they didn't have that aesthetic, it's like I can't blame them because this is my aesthetic.
Right.
So I took a step back and I was like, my ideal customer, I want everybody. I want everybody to love what I make.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, it was like, what's everybody? I was like, men and women.
Okay.
Right? Men and women. People that have a little bit more of a disposable income.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit older.
Yeah.
Or just kind of focus on a career-focused people.
Yeah.
And then also people living in cities, like the need to carry a bag.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of like thinking of all that. And then one day I was just like sketching, and I was like, I remember there was one specific day that I was like going out to like a picnic or like an outing with friends, and I had a backpack, and my backpack had my phone, my wallet, and my keys. And I'm like, I'm bringing this whole ass backpack for these like 3 little things, and like I did, and like a water bottle or something. Yeah. And I was just like, why can't I find a bag that just I can carry all these things, not in my pocket, and doesn't make me look like I'm going climbing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me look like I'm gonna go do yoga.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me look like a label whore.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me look. It's like all these brands, they do a great job like making you look like you are in that lifestyle. Yeah. Right? You see that Lululemon bag, and you're like, this person's like a yoga person.
Yeah.
You see a North Face bag. This is like climbing outdoor person, but they're not. They're just like in the city taking the bus or the train, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I wanted to create something that was just minimal. It didn't speak for you. It just kind of like enhanced your style.
Gotcha.
So a lot of brands do that, but not small business. You have to go and buy like a label, right? So I kind of like came out, I was like thinking about it, and I sketched up a one pattern. I wanted to be so lightweight. I wanted to be like, just carry your stuff, lightweight, one pattern. I used my menswear tailoring background, and I designed this one piece pattern bag that's like a crossbody sling, and I just like made it. It looks a little different than the one that you see today, and I made it for myself. I posted it online, and I was like, look what I made, everybody. And like literally 5 minutes later, within 5 minutes, somebody was like, can I have that? Can I buy that?
That is such a good like confirmation that you hit something.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe it was a fluke, like the one person just wants to support it. So I sold it to her. It was a her. That was eye-opening, because I didn't think about selling it to women until she had reached out to me. The women part didn't really click. It was mostly a menswear brand. Smith & Parka, it kind of sounds like a menswear brand.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, interesting. A woman wants this. And I was like, hey, that's even better confirmation, because it just appeals to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then I sold it to her, and then I made another one, and literally the same exact thing happened. I like put it online, I'm like, hey guys, made another one, sold the first one, made another one, and then another one of my friends is like, I bought it right away.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, let me do another one. So I did another one, and it just kept happening, which was so amazing.
Awesome.
And then I started doing runs. Like with my background in production, I understood how to do like runs and like and sourcing all the materials and stuff like that, and like all the stuff that comes in production. Yeah. So I started making runs of solos. The bag is called a solo sling.
Yeah,
and
we'll show that later.
And what's nice about it is I made runs, and I would just post them, and I would just sell them. It would literally, every time I posted one, I would just sell it.
And this is all happening in your apartment.
In my apartment, yeah.
Okay.
I was like, this is
what did that look like?
I have a pretty decent sized apartment. It's about 900 square feet. It looked like a factory, honestly. I had my bedroom was the only thing that didn't look like it. So it was a little stressful just because, but during COVID, it's like, where are you going to go?
Yeah,
it kind of made sense during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then it just kept happening, and I would make a batch of them, and then I'd go out to like functions like with friends, or like I would just always have them with me because people would, when you meet people and they're like, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, oh, I sell bags. It's like, oh, you have one? No, you should have one. Everybody was like, you should just have them on you.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're right. So I always just carried them on with me. And I mean, I would say 85% of the time I left my house with a bunch of bags, I would come back with either no bags or less bags.
That's amazing. Wait, so you're just taking it out to random functions?
I would just like go out and yeah. Because people would see my Instagram, when you see you posting on Instagram and then people see you next time, they're like, I saw the bag that you're making, and they would ask about it and they would want it.
That's amazing.
And it was quite amazing, honestly. It was very eye-opening. And then it just kept happening. And then it gave me the courage to do markets. And that was like a thing that I had to overcome. It was like
interesting.
Yeah, I had to. One thing that I did to overcome my fear of doing markets was microdosing. I will be.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I like.
Wait, what was the fear about?
The fear is
markets?
Like a combination of like standing there and being a salesperson.
Yeah.
Like
Fair.
I'm not a sales. I've been in the corporate environment for 20 years, and now I'm like, hey, you want to buy my bags? You know, like it was a little weird for me to make that transition, and then also just the whole transaction part of it, and being a salesperson, and like, like people coming up to you and not giving a shit about you. Like, I mean, there is a part of being in retail where like you just gotta take the rudeness of people. People are just rude. Wow. People are nice for the most part, but a lot of people they're not rude intentionally. They're just, you don't mean anything to them.
Right.
So there's like that part of it.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of anxiety that came with that. And then I just started, my friend was like, you should microdose with intention. Yeah. So I started microdosing with intention, like very just like little bit. Yeah. And it really changed my anxiety to like, oh, I got this. Yeah. It was weird. It actually truly worked for me.
Okay. Yeah. And then now you don't need it anymore.
I'm not advocating drugs, people. I'm just saying it worked for me.
No, I think a lot of people go through those moments where they needed just a little bit of help.
Yeah,
and you're fine with it. And now you have your own like space here.
Yeah. So then I basically started doing markets, and I was like, every time I did a market, I would crush it. Like, not to toot my own horn. It was just more like I would make a certain amount of inventory.
How did you choose your markets? Was it like a standalone markets, or these pop-ups, or how did you choose where you wanted to be?
It's interesting, and I think a lot of people that, even meeting you, I think a lot of people in our circle will kind of say the same thing, where it's like post-COVID was a renaissance of small business.
Yes, it
was. And I happened to be kind of on the forefront of that renaissance. I mean, there's always like some small businesses popping up, but there was a brand new wave of like entrepreneurs, because they went through the same thing with COVID. They had to pivot, and it opened a lot of people's eyes to like what their opportunities were. And that, with like Ace Pop-Up and Renegade and Fed and even Made in NYC, like you see that everybody's kind of new to that game at that time frame. It was interesting. So I kind of jumped in there and almost became part of this like community, like where like I became known a little bit in these communities just because you're there. You show up and you get known, right? Yeah. That's what community is. And like,
you just talk to people and you're like, oh, you set up there, I set up here. Yeah.
And then I just became part of the community, and like word spread, and like the solo. I mean, it's weird because Smith & Parka is a company, but people just know the solo. Like some people don't even know Smith & Parka. They're just like, oh, it's a solo.
It's a solo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So like branding the bag in its own way was very interesting for me, like a marketing concept. Yeah. So I was able to just find markets naturally as soon as I started signing up for them. Yeah. And then
and just New York is a good ground for that in general when it comes to those things.
It's all based on like the success of them are all kind of like based on time of year. Like I learned that there's certain times of the year like don't even bother because nobody's even, like right now in February like
markets pop up around May. That's like
May,
spring,
and then
spring.
Summer. Yeah, definitely spring, definitely holiday. That's it. Like everything else is kind of like you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs until something happens. Okay. And then I was able to get this store after my first year, what's crazy story is I had done a Renegade market, Renegade craft fair, and it was like probably my 10th market of the year so far in my first year of doing this. And it was like towards the holiday market. And I had made all these bags for that time frame. And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I was like a little nervous that I overmade. I made about like 500, 600 bags.
Hand sewn,
everything. Yeah, I took like
cutting,
everything. Hand cut. Hand cut. Now I cut it with laser, so it's like a whole different story, and it's like easier for me. But
these are like pretty hefty materials.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised my hand still functions. Yeah. But I hand cut like about 6. I mean, up to the first year of doing it, I sold over 1,000 of them. So it was very, very like successful year for me. Which is crazy. I can't even believe I made that many. Yeah. It was just there was like
cranking them out.
There was a whole month I was just I had neck pains. It took me almost like 2 months to after the holiday season. It took me this time last year. It took me so long to recover.
Hearing that makes me think like it's just the repetition that I think nobody really knows that goes behind it. Or sometimes it reminds me, I'm like, oh shit, they do that many.
Yes.
Like.
But I didn't know. So the idea was I was making all these bags. I'll refer to them as solos. I think your audience will know that by now. Yeah. I made that about 500. I had already sold about 300, 400 up to that point of the holiday season. And then I made about 500 to 600. I kind of forgot what the number was because you kind of just lose count after a while. Yeah. And then I was going to say, if I sold them, hooray. Yeah. If I didn't sell them, I would use that inventory next year for wholesale or you just use the inventory for something else. Yeah, so the contingency plan for it was just keep going. Yeah. Yeah. And then I did all these markets during the holidays, and I sold all of them. And it was such a it was such a fantastic feeling. And I remember it was about a week, 3 days before Christmas, and I was walking over the bridge. I live in Williamsburg, and I was walking into LDS, and I'm walking over the bridge, and I was like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom real quick. Yeah. So I come down Essex Market, and I come downstairs, and I go to the bathroom that's right over here. And there's a guy in the booth next door to us right now, and he was just sewing something. And I saw him, and I'm off this high of just selling all the, I had just made a very profitable year off a first year of starting my own business. So I was very proud of myself. Yeah. And I was very confident. So I walked up to him, and I was like, hey man, I'd love to know what you're doing here. You're just in this booth sewing, what's the story? We hit it off right away. Yeah. I had maybe 8 solos left, and I was like, I got 8 solos left, for the holiday. He's like, do you want to just sell them here? So he invited me into his booth, the booth right next door, and then I ended up having them in my booth, and then it was a couple of days before Christmas, so the chances of selling them were kind of high. Yeah. And everybody was in good spirits. I mean, that year everybody was in very good spirits. Yeah. So then the manager of the market comes up, introduces herself to me, falls in love with the solo, buys all of them.
What?
Yeah, seriously.
This is good timing.
Good timing.
It's just good vibes. Everything just fell in place.
Yeah, she buys all of them for her friends and family for Christmas. Okay. And then falls in love, becomes one of my biggest supporters. Wow. And then shows me the space that we're in now, and pretty much offers me this space for a great price. And I was like, wow. And I moved in here Christmas Eve last year. Wow. Crazy, right? So it's everything kind of happens for a reason. And then I spent the last year of the business building the store and building the idea of what a store looks like. Yeah. And I make everything here. So there's kind of this unique experience of seeing the bags being made by the person that made them. Yep. And you get this connection with the products because you see the person that's making it, designed it, and
you see the process.
You see the process, and it's when people talk about small business, it's more like they're connecting with the idea of supporting like somebody's dream.
Yeah.
And like that also kind of contributes to their lives as well.
Yeah, it does.
Because you could buy a bag anywhere.
Yeah.
You can buy, anybody that has a small business, you can buy that product on Amazon for way cheaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to spend the extra money for a value that you want to contribute to.
Yeah. I think that's where things are heading to at this point.
Yeah.
Or since the pandemic, I feel like
I think so.
people are more like, I want this handmade, or I want to know where this came from.
Yeah.
Instead of like, hey, you can buy it off of Amazon, Temu even.
Yeah.
Like, but it's different when you're like, oh, I'm actually watching, and we'll show you the space, but you're watching you sew.
You're watching me sew.
Watching you like process end to end, and they're part of something.
Yeah.
After they buy it,
and they get to know me. Like I'll stand here and have a drink with you. I have beers in the fridge. Like
this place is so great.
You know, we just have like a good time. I've made a lot of loyal friends. I would say friends, customers.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because people will come to me for like once you become part of like once you have one, you kind of become part of the community.
Yeah.
People will see each other with the bags in the street and become friends.
Yeah.
And like one of my models, my friends, I go around and putting stickers up on the street and then
I see it randomly.
Do you see them randomly?
Sometimes I'm like, what the hell?
I mean, it's just another part of the business that it's like I took one of the things that I tell
New York. It's like sticker, but also it's like posters.
I'm New York, right? I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
But one of the philosophies behind my brand is personal philosophy is I took all my hobbies and turned them into a job. And when I was younger, I used to do graffiti growing up in New York.
Gotcha.
And it was a very fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, I can't really do that.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's still a little bit of an itch to do it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was like, oh, why don't I got the idea to do guerrilla marketing. And I was like, and I did it one time. I ordered some stickers. I did it one time. And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Granted, I know it's not real, like, legit, but it was just so much fun for me.
I think guerrilla marketing is legit though.
Like it's not legal.
Right. But you can do other types of guerrilla marketing that it can be
maybe
legal.
Maybe.
But it's very like I don't know if y'all remember, but remember the street teams of like radio stations where they would just go out?
Yeah.
That's for me is also guerrilla. That's like in the streets. Like you mobilize, you actually talk to people, and I feel like that actually switches people a lot faster.
Yeah.
Like, you can't scale it.
You can't scale it. It's more about like, so when you talk about marketing, there's the impressions and it's always, they say it takes about 5 to 8 impressions.
Yes. Yep.
Which is, I mean, that's getting the first 5 is so challenging.
Yeah.
You know, like
I think even now it's probably gotten higher.
It's not higher because it's just so much stuff to consume,
sift
right?
Through, yep.
So I think just one of my touch points is like you see it on the street. There are more, actually the guerrilla marketing is more for the people that have them. Honestly, I think I do it. Of course, I do it in a way where it's marketing for the brand, but I do it in a way where it's like, oh, you have one, and it's like, oh, that's Dave. That's David's thing. Like that's this. I have one, and you feel more connected to it. And I like enjoy doing it, so it's not really like a cost to me outside of the stickers itself. And like possibly getting caught doing it. But it's a fun part of the brand, so like I enjoy it. I don't know how much longer I'll actually be doing it because it is not like legal, so.
Maybe I should cut that out.
I don't care.
I don't know.
I mean, you can't catch me on that.
But
anyway,
like,
so that's like part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of it, and then that's I don't know how do we get into that? Where are we going?
It's okay. We just keep talking.
Just rambling.
About it.
You're gonna edit this,
but also the name Smith and Parka.
Yeah. Oh. You want to know this backstory? Everybody wants to know
the backstory.
Everybody wants to know the backstory. It's you know, when you come out with a name for a brand, I mean, I feel like the way that people can relate most with this is when you name your child.
Okay.
You know, like you ever talk to new parents and the process of naming their child is intense. and you never want to settle on one. And you're like, this is going to be the name, blah, blah. Not that I have kids, but I've seen this happen so many times. So when I first came out with the idea, it actually was based on my career. So in fashion, you get pigeonholed very quickly.
Okay.
So if you're a bottoms designer or a tops designer or an outerwear designer, a sweater designer, knit designer, woven designer, sock designer, underwear designer, you stay that.
Got it.
For your whole career. Like they make you stay that.
Yeah, you're in your lane.
Yeah, like you design, like God forbid, and like no disrespect to sock designers, but like you're a sock designer, you stay a sock designer.
Yeah.
And it gets a little boring, you know? Like I've designed socks before.
Yeah.
And like that lane wasn't for me. Like I didn't want to, I started as a sweater designer.
Yeah.
And I don't love sweaters like that. I love fashion. I love bringing everything together. Like I don't want to just design sweaters my whole career. And that's no disrespect to anybody that does that, because I did that for a while. So when I first came in the industry, I didn't know that. And what I had to realize is I had to kind of juke around to like get out of that pigeonhole.
I'm just seeing clients or potential customers.
No,
like,
that's fine.
Do we need
to
like?
That's for if they want to buy something, they'll interrupt me. And if you need any help, please let me know. And I basically, where was I? Okay. So I basically came out with a portfolio that wasn't anything that I did in my career. It was like my creativity and and I didn't want to base it on any brand that I worked for. So I kind of made my own aesthetic, my own products, my own designs, and I put it in a portfolio. And the brand I wanted to be generic enough where people didn't associate it with the brand, but also digestible, where it's like, I could see this being a brand. So when I showed it to like interviews, they would understand it and not be like, oh, you're just a sweater designer.
Gotcha.
So I came out with Smith.
Okay.
So Smith was the part of my portfolio that I named everything Smith. I made all these graphics. All my clothing had like Smith logos on them.
Why Smith?
Because it was generic and it didn't hit anything. It didn't identify with anything. It was
interesting. It's just like a neutral.
It was a neutral
generic
name, and
interesting.
And it was like from my first 10 years of my career, I was able to get a lot of different jobs. It worked. I was able to get a lot of different jobs because I was able to demonstrate things that a normal person would go into the career, build their portfolio based on stuff that they worked on, and then just show the stuff that they worked on. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
I wanted to show my creativity and my talent. So I came out with Smith.
Wow.
And I had the name Smith and all these graphics, and kind of it was just in my head.
In my head now, I'm like, is this also like, I don't want to bring it up, but also curious, like being Asian? Is that a thing too?
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Smith is like, because Smith ain't an Asian name.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. I call it reverse appropriation.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, edit that out. I don't give a shit if you edit that out. It's like, I've always felt like if I had named it David Lee, people wouldn't identify with it. Even though there is like an Alexander Wang, there's like Jimmy Choo, like, I don't know how those guys were able to kind of like use their names and America was able to identify with that. That's a big challenge. Yeah, and I respect that.
Okay,
but I'm not in high fashion. I don't have that backing. I don't have that pedigree. So I couldn't use my name as like
that's always interesting to me to hear.
Yeah,
like,
and it also it gives the interviewer the idea that I'm able to design for something else, not for me. If I had named it David Lee, it would be like, oh, this is like your line. Yeah. But like if I named it Smith, it's like it could have been anybody's line. So I had this Smith for a long time. And then in 2014, I was like, let me come out with my own little line of and like let me name it. Yeah. And like going back to like naming your kid, I was like, do I name it Smith? I'm like, I don't want to name it Smith. Yeah. That's like so like the whole point of Smith was like to be generic.
Yeah, generic.
But I just really found it. I found the idea of identifying with the name like a lot of people identify with that name. It's just easy to digest. Like there's so many things like Smith and Lewinsky, Smith and Hawkins, Smith and Wesson, Smith and like all these Smith and so it's kind of a surname. It's a what would you call it? It's like a pretty normal thing to hear.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make it more unique. And my favorite, to add the parka and the back of it, the idea was I needed to find something to make it super unique. Like, because Smith was so generic.
Yeah.
And like, I just needed something to make it more unique. So the first thing I ever made when I was at FIT was a parka jacket.
Okay.
So that is one part of it. And then my favorite designer is Ralph Lauren. And then he uses polo. But I know he uses polo as a sport.
Yeah.
But the polo shirt.
Yes.
Like he owns that shirt,
100%.
right? Like I see Gap advertisement, it's like Gap polo, and like that's like, a polo advertisement, you know?
Exactly.
You're like literally using the word.
Yeah.
So I kind of just took a chapter out of that book, and I just like somehow I just used the word parka. It was like I wanted to own that name in some ways, even though I don't make jackets. Like someday I will make jackets. So I just put those two names together, and that's how it came about. And it was originally a menswear design, a menswear brand.
Yeah.
So it has kind of a menswear tone to it.
Yeah.
But I think that's what kind of makes it unique, honestly.
Yeah. I think it's very, when I'm looking at your products online or even here looking at it, it's very gender neutral in a way where it could go any direction.
Yeah, I mean, parkas are pretty gender neutral. Like you're wearing a parka today. Like
it's black. Yeah. Everyone has like a black parka.
Yeah, everybody has a parka, you know. And the parka is just like there's a philosophy behind it. It's when you talk about a dress or a button up, it's like those are just those things. Where a parka is like the idea when you hear it, it's like waterproof, warm, 3/4 length. That there's a very intentional function about like when you hear the word parka, it's like you're gonna go do something. Yeah, you know. And it's functional.
I like that. Yeah. It is functional because a parka you need to have a function first before it looks cute. Yeah, like I'd rather take the functioning parka that's kind of ugly. Yeah, than something. Well, at least now. I mean, ask me my 20s. You know, like
you'll be out there like the cutest thing, all cold and shit.
Yeah, not anymore. Now I'm like function over that. But if you can make something functional and design, which you've done, then I think it elevates it even more. Right. I think.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. You know, and I was so cringy with the name at first. Like I didn't like the name at first. And like from 2014 to 2020, I had just sat with the name, and I had started the company. Like I legit had like a website, an e-commerce business. I was selling bags, but not frequently enough to like sustain a business. Yeah. So it grew on me, and it just became my baby. And people love the name actually. Yeah. It's like it sounds like it could be a luxury brand. It sounds like it could be like it sounds like a real brand. Yeah.
It is like a real brand.
Like I know, but like when you like create it, it's like still like a little like, is this a real brand?
Yeah, you're just like, I'm in my plaything.
Yeah, I mean there is an LLC for it, so it is.
Yeah, so it is legit. David's gonna show us a couple of his bags and take us through a walkthrough of the Solo.
It's called the Solo Sling. I actually have like a board that has like the logo on it and everything. So this is the font that I brand the Solo with. You'll see it on every advertisement. Yeah. And then I actually updated my logo, but this is the original logo that has it. Now it's more of a script. Yeah. And I'll show you. I'll take this off for you. This board is what I use for the markets. I used to have them hanging on the board behind me, and I'll just like point at all the colors. It's
always the best thing. Like, it's always the best thing. It looks like this. Yeah. It's like your menu.
So basically,
the snap is already really cool.
Yeah. So basically, it's like one piece design. This is the original pattern piece over here. Wow. So I don't know if you could see that on there. It's just one piece. It has a cutout in the middle for the zipper. It has a placement for the logo here. And it's like that, right? Wow. So it folds over. It's one piece, so it makes it very lightweight without being cumbersome. You know, like sometimes you hold a bag and it's like you're holding the bag more than you're holding your stuff. And I just didn't want that. Yeah. And there's so many bags on the market that I wanted it to make it unique, my point of view. And this is like completely my point of view. This is the thinnest crossbody on the market, hands down.
Can you show the thinness of it?
It's about 1/2 inch thick, depending on the leather.
Yeah.
And it holds a lot. It holds phone, keys, wallet, passport, zipper, a Kindle fits in here. I fit a lot. Nice. A lot of people fit a lot of stuff in it because of the darts here. It gives it volume. It also has a really, really nice YKK brass zipper.
I love the hardware.
And it never breaks. I've sold 1,000 of these, and I haven't gotten one return. Not one. Not one.
That's actually something you can be pretty proud of.
I am pretty proud of it. I'm like, maybe there's somebody that has one and they just didn't want to return it or something, but like I've never had a situation.
These are sturdy.
They're sturdy and they're guaranteed for life. So if they do break, I will either fix it or replace it for free. Yeah. Because I just stand behind it. Yeah. Yeah. And you open it up. So when you wear it, you kind of just put it around yourself. And it kind of acts like a little bit of a tray. So everything is right facing you here. Instead of, most of them are designed for when you look at it and you have to open it around. Where this is,
you actually see down.
You actually see down into it. So it really
know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like, why did they design it for when you're looking at it? It's like, I'm not hating on it. I'm just more like, it's not ergonomic. There we go. So then you can wear it in the front, and you can wear it to the side. You can wear it on your back. You know,
that looks so cool.
It's just more like a messenger. I wear mine on my back because it looks more like a messenger bag. And what also makes it really unique is this buckle. So a lot of the other buckles on the market, it's like that. You pinch it, but they're huge. They're about
I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah, this is a unique. I mean, they're on the market. This is not my personal design, but it's one that I chose specifically for this product, and it's really thin. The way that I put it, most bags have it attached closer to the buckle is closer to the bag, but I was like, that is not ergonomic as well, because when are you ever?
I love the thoughtfulness of all this.
So if the buckle is where your chest would be, so it's opposite of the logo on the back, so it's like equal. Nice. So you can wear this underneath a jacket, and you can slide it back and forth underneath the jacket. Yeah. At the airport, it's like. So clutch. Like they don't even think you have a bag.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so you can bring this and
it's
a carry-on.
It's like a hideaway thing.
Yeah, it's a hideaway thing. And what's also makes this really unique is how thin it is, and then you slide it open, and then you just throw it back onto close. So I'll show you up close.
Yeah, I'll show it up close because I thought that was pretty cool.
You see like how thin it is, and it doesn't have. It's very sleek, so people when they first see it, they have no idea how to use it. So it's pretty secure. Yeah. And then you just slide it open. And then you just throw it close. So you slide it open.
There you have it.
You throw it close. And it's very, it's very like sturdy. Yeah. You just got to slide. I mean, so easy to use. It's kind of like a little bit of tech on there. Yep. Also, when you open it up, it's been through 3 generations. So the first generation of this, when I made that first year, didn't have a pocket on the inside.
You always have to have a pocket on it.
You had to have, but people were buying them without the pocket, and it was a thing. And then people kept like, we need a pocket on the inside. So the second generation of it had like a divider. Yeah. And I was hand cutting all of that. So it was more of like what I was capable of doing is what goes into it. Yeah. So I was able to start laser cutting the pocket.
Awesome. That was a game changer.
That was a game changer for me. And then when I was able to do that, I was able to kind of just like make a whole series of pockets and then just include them into the production. Yeah. Now I've upped that. This is the 3rd generation where it was just like a slot that divided it. Yeah. Now it's a slot that divides it with a pocket on it. Ooh. So you can see that. So now it's a pocket.
There's a divider
within a pocket it's like pocket inception. So there's a pocket within the pocket. So you got 3 you got 1 slot here, 1 slot here, and then the pocket is a pocket for like small things.
Love this.
So this is the 3rd generation of it. I think I might have to increase the price of the Solo a little bit, but inflation, guys. Yeah. And they're
so cool.
They're just all made with like the most premium leather. Like feel this leather.
That's nice.
It's super nice. Yeah,
that's really cool.
And this is the product that's like changing my life.
I think even hearing you talk about this and then your quote unquote first failure.
Yeah.
Remember when you're talking about the ideal customer?
Yeah.
Even seeing the evolution of this bag was based on people wanting things from you.
Yes.
And how has that been now? Are you eliciting customer feedback, or how does that work in your operations and how you develop things?
That's like such an interesting question, because I think when you first start a business, you have to be very discerning about what you consume from as advice standpoint, because everybody has advice. And my biggest thing, and I don't want to be negative about it, but it's just being real. There will be people that will come up to the store and they won't know that I exist 1 minute, and then they come to the store and then they have a business advice for me.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah,
That's
happens a lot.
This is actually one of my biggest annoyances. Like, if you're not doing what I'm doing,
like,
I'm not going to solicit advice from you, nor do I want
but
giving unsolicited
it's
advice.
never really malicious more than it's like they're just projecting the ideas on you. So you have to be discerning on like what is a real advice and what's not.
I like that.
That's like business like starting a business 101. Everybody will have an opinion. Like people that have no business even buying what you are selling will have
100.
Like if you don't own one, then don't even try to give me business. Why would you give me you know? But not to be negative, going back to the positive, the feedback that I get, if I hear it enough, I'll include it into it. And everybody was like, pocket on the inside, pocket on the inside, pocket on the inside. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure that out.
I think that's great what you just said right there.
Yeah.
Because like if there's a threshold, that means something is
an opportunity. There's an opportunity. And then I keep hearing a lot of things over and over again, but the bandwidth and everything, that's kind of my struggle with things. And also like when I first came out with the product, it was easy to kind of just make design changes to it because I was just selling a handful of them. And now it's like, I'll have inventory of the old ones, and now the third generation is coming out. And like, what do I do with the old inventory? It's like, as the business scales, it becomes a little bit more challenging to make nimble moves. And you know, my business is kind of like built on being able to make nimble moves. So it is a give and take on design changes. But as far as like when people want something, I'm focused on one product. This is the product that I'm focused on. And like people will be like, you should come out with this, you should come out with that. And I'm like, if I do, then that's a whole nother marketing strategy. Then that's a whole nother product. Then that's a whole nother part of my business, which I'm open to. And I actually am going to explore that further down the line. But having one product that you can kind of roll out in multiple colors and like speaks to a lot of people and like, there's no shortage of people buying them. I just got to find those people.
Okay, got it. And then we talked a little bit about the growth thing and the changes. Where are you right now? What are your current challenges that you're having? I'm in
so many challenges. As you get more in tune with your business, it just the challenges will just find you and just make themselves very apparent. So one of the biggest challenges now is finding a new retail space. I'm losing this retail space at the end of the month. Which is unfortunate. I haven't made that public yet just because I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do, but that is a big challenge for me. Whether I go e-commerce heavy or go back into retail. Retail is a beast because you have to be there. Like you have to be there. If you're not there, then there's an element of consistency and reliability and accountability that is in retail, where e-commerce not so much. But you just need to make that difference. And being here, connecting with the community has been such an opportunity. So it's hard for me to decide which route I want to go. Another thing is just they say that you have your communities or your customers or whatever you want to call people that are buying your product is A, B, and C. A being your friends, B being your friends of friends or people that are just kind of loosely in your network. And then C is like people you just do not know. And like I've gotten A so much, and I appreciate all of that.
Which is great.
Which is great. I've gotten B a lot.
Yeah.
It's like whole communities based on, so like there's groups of people that have solos, and they all like are proud to like, I have this color, I have this color. So I'm very happy that that's like a part of it.
Yeah.
And then the newest challenge is just finding that C customer, that person that doesn't know the brand, that like they have to be introduced to the idea that I'm making them and I'm selling them, and I'm the person that's like about this. Because like I said before, you can buy a bag from anywhere for like $2.
Yeah,
like what's the point of buying, you know, an expensive bag or a non-brand label brand?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge.
Okay. Yeah. And it goes in, I feel like it goes in iterations. So this is like your latest challenge.
Yeah. It is definitely one of the biggest challenges right now. And you know, it costs money to get that. Like I think of one of the things that you see in the market right now is like the cash back things, like Rakuten, or like Capital One has one. There's like all these brands that give you money for shopping at these places.
Yeah.
And that's like those like Nike or wherever, they're like, okay, if you can sell our product, we'll give you 10%. Like that is a cost of getting a new customer for them. Like it's a lot of money. And then they're able to give it back to the customer, which is even crazier. So the idea of spending money to get customers is, every big company has that strategy. They have the resources. So as a small company, you have to be open-minded to like, it takes money to make money. And it's very hard because, you know, being a small business, you have to make sure that your next move is your best move, right? Like if you're using your resources in an unwise way, or like a way where it's not contributing to the brand overall, it's hard to see.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. It's very difficult because you don't know if I spend $1,000 on Instagram ads and nothing happens.
You just wasted.
I just wasted $1,000 on Instagram ads.
Yeah.
But like that is very typical.
Yeah.
Like it happens very often.
Actually, I hear that all the time. I spend so much money. I'm like, I think there's a process before that too.
Yeah. Well, you have to have the right content.
Yes.
And you have to have the right product, and you have to understand the target demographic, and like there's just so much mistakes that you have to do. And on top of that, on top of all of that I just said, which is all variables, like crazy variable, it's the touch points. Like you got to get that first touch point, second touch point, third touch point, that fifth interaction with the customer is like when they're like, all right, I'll pull the trigger.
The impression.
So that costs a lot of money to get to that point. I'm that customer, I know for sure, and like you're probably that customer. So it's like
you kind of see it a few times.
You got to see it. I mean, and then it gets to a point where like, all right, I get it. Like I regret clicking on this.
Yeah,
you
I was
know?
like, I can see how this fits into my life now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to like make sure it speaks to people. So there is a challenge with that. Whereas retail, you come into the space and you could see it, and it's like it explains itself right away.
Yeah.
And you can resonate with it if you choose to.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you know, that's just another customer that had one more touch point. A lot of the customers here have seen it at least twice, and then they come back.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense. So it is a challenge. Selling products is a challenge, but that's it.
Well, we'll see. We'll maybe check in another year, see
hopefully
see your new place. What is your advice for someone that wants to kind of do what you're doing?
See, it could go all types of directions. I think really sit down with yourself and look in the mirror and tell yourself, like, can you do this? It's very difficult. Everybody thinks it's like, once you do it, it's all fun and games. It is not fun and games. It is very real. So take a real good look at yourself in the mirror and be like, can you do this? Do you want to do this?
Talk to me about really quick, if you can name the sacrifices. I think maybe that would make it more tangible.
Personal life. Having a retail space for me, I lost my weekends. So I have no personal life. Like my personal life, I have to seek it. And I'm not getting any younger, so it's not like people are calling me up to hang out all the time. So it's a big thing. Like
Yeah.
when you kind of go through life and like nobody's calling you out to hang out, or you don't want to hang out because you're so tired from doing what you're doing.
Yep.
That is a huge sacrifice.
Okay.
Huge. Two, just personal resources. Like you're not having shopping sprees every weekend. You're not, you're like very on a budget. You're very much thinking about the business constantly. Like, when you have a job, you can kind of check out at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
With this, there's no checking out. Like I was having a conversation with my friend the other day about my business, and they were like, can we just like stop talking about your business for like a minute? And I was like, yes, absolutely. We can stop talking about my business.
Okay.
Like, I don't mean to project that onto you. And it
Yeah.
happens. It's like so real that happens,
But give me a good thing. Like what's
good thing?
That's the sacrifice.
Yeah.
But what are the little wins or big wins that comes with that sacrifice? That you're just
I mean, positive things.
Yeah.
Positive things is like when you sell one, or when you sell something that you made with your hands, and people resonate with it, it is the best feeling ever. It really. And then when you kind of go through your feed and people are posting them, hi, if you need any help, let me know. These are 150.
Okay, so we're back from our sale.
Yeah, where are we?
So we talked about the challenges and the sacrifices, but I also want to hear about what's
the positive,
worthwhile.
Yeah.
Like why grind? Why work 7 days out of the week? Why always have this on your mind? Like where's that worthwhile?
I mean, there's so many things. For me, it is a lot of, for everybody, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
I think, I see people opening up things that I would never want to do, and they find joy in it. So it's kind of unique to the person, but for me personally, it's an expression of what I've always wanted to do as a kid, was to make things with my hands and have people enjoy them.
Yeah.
That is the foundation of it.
Okay.
And I was able to, the building blocks of my career have led me up to this. Like, this is what I want to do. So there is a part of me fulfilling my own destiny in it that really is probably the most beneficial part of it. Seeing people enjoy something that I created from scratch. Even from the product itself, all the way to the marketing campaigns, and all the way to just getting to know me, and me getting to know other people, like me getting to know you. Me meeting new people. It gives people this insight to my personality that you don't get with a 9-to-5. There's times when I meet people and I'm like at a party or something, and they're like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I'm like so-and-so. And they're just, that's not interesting for them.
Right.
They don't want to talk about, like, they almost don't want to talk about what they're doing. And they're like, I was playing like racquetball this weekend, or like I'm going on like to Lisbon this weekend. Like that's what they focus on as their happiness.
Yeah.
Where like this, it has its challenges as we talked about, but in overall, when things are, when the challenges aren't super real and you're just kind of going through the motions, it's very, very fulfilling. Okay. Yeah.
Amazing. And now the last question.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to buy this,
yes,
where can they find you? Where can they go? Tell it to them.
I would say if you wanted to buy solo, or you wanted to get to know me, you can come to Essex Market downstairs. I'm here. We are closing at the end of the month, so March 31st is the last day, but I will continue to do this. Okay. Smithandparka.com, the smithparka.com is, you can see all of the products there. And my Instagram to contact me, and I would say that I have a Facebook. I have all the channels. So if you just type in Smith Parka on Google, it's very easy to find.
You are SEOable.
I work very hard to do that. Yeah. Okay. All that meta tagging and data. I hope that.
Look at you.
Yeah. I
using technology.
I might be old, but I'm not useless.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me in. We'll probably do a little tour after this.
Yeah, sure.
And that's it. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this. I know you could be sewing and doing other things.
No, that's fine. I appreciate it. You're welcome, and I appreciate it. I find that building this is part of working. Like building this with other people with the interest of it, telling the story, introducing it to other people, and inspiring other people to do.
Will. Yeah. I think everyone has that, like, if he can do it,
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah. I mean,
And I think that's right though. It's like, but you gotta work. You have to have the mentality of that.
yeah, like I said,
sacrifice and what makes it worthwhile.
yeah, like I said, that idea of really sitting down with yourself and asking yourself if are you ready for it. It's almost equivalent to like buying a house or having a kid or like a major lifestyle change. Like you need to like ask
It's
yourself
a lifestyle change.
Yes, 100%. There's nothing
Yes.
more lifestyle changing than starting your own business.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah, I agree with you
Yeah,
on that one.
100.
My lifestyle is not the same.
No,
anymore.
I mean, I wish I could flip the switch and go back to like having a job every once in a while just so I can like stop the noise in here. But unfortunately, that's not how it works, and you just got to keep on grinding. Yeah.
But that worthwhileness.
It is
I think it's like with things like love and like you have to kind of go through like all these like little things.
Yeah, and when you find success in something that you actually do, like when there's like the little milestones in your life are like, I'll say one last thing. One milestone that I had last year or the year before is I was selected for American Express Small Business feature.
Oh, that's amazing.
For AAPI month. And it just made me feel like, wow, this huge company is acknowledging this small ass company's like worth because of me being Asian, me being a small business owner, and like kind of like proving myself to that point. You know? So that was I'll always have that, I always have that as like a damn, I did that. You know?
Wait, hold on. One more question. Now I was like, thinking about it.
Ask away.
Were you into like sewing your entire life? How did that come, like family wise? Like, what are your thoughts? Family, friends, like how is
what do you mean?
all that? So just like sewing, like you got into, you said FIT, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were they always encouraging you of it? Like, how did you, as a child, like I like to make things in this way?
Oh man.
I know. I'm just asking.
No. I love these questions because it really digs into the personality of what the brand is, honestly. And when this is actually probably encouraging for people that are not academically inclined. Like I never had good grades. Like reading, math, science, chemistry, history, economics, all of that. I did not excel in any of those things. But when it came to art, I excelled tremendously. Like my creativity as a kid was off the charts. And that was a metric by the schooling system. Like we have these tests called regencies here in New York, and like every kid has to take like all the subjects have regencies. And I went to an art high school, fortunately. I was fortunate enough to get into an art high school. And I barely passed any of the regencies, and I scored on the art regents. I know people are like, there's an art regent? There's an art regents. I had scored the highest score in the city, like the history of the city.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like a 99.8 that I scored on that test. And my guidance counselor was like, well, that settles it. You need to be an artist of some sort. And I was like, well, I wanted to be a comic book artist.
Okay.
And I was like, maybe I should have stuck with that because maybe I've been working at Marvel doing like some kind of something funny. But then I went into it, and then I just happened to go into fashion because I love clothing.
Gotcha.
And that's just...
So that's been an interest.
Yeah, it was like comics was like the introduction to like drawing. And then when I went to High School of Art and Design, which had a nice fashion illustration course.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. So it was specialized.
Yeah, it was specialized courses. And the comic, I was like, I can't draw comics for a living. I mean, I could, but it just didn't seem like that was in the books for me. So I went into fashion illustration, and then from there, I went into the industry and I excelled at it. I mean, throughout my career, I always felt like I was always at the top of my game at every job that I did. I always understood and executed at a high level. And I just felt very in tune with fashion.
It sounded like everything was supportive. You had like a supportive structure.
Yeah.
Even down to like,
I made it for myself though. That wasn't given to me.
That
was like I found my lane early because I didn't have a choice.
You did find your lane early. Okay. And in terms of like family, all that? Everyone's
I
like,
mean, there's my family is a weird bunch. There's
okay.
I grew up as a first generation Asian, so I
Okay.
think anybody that's first generation anything understands that it's like you should just be lucky that you're alive,
Yeah,
type
fair.
of like
Yeah.
you're eating, be
Yeah.
fortunate. Like, oh, you want to talk about feelings? No. We're
Yeah.
not talking about feelings.
Yeah.
We're not talking
You
about
got your
anything.
basic needs
Yeah,
met.
you got your basic
You're safe.
needs, respect, show
Yeah.
face, like.
Yeah.
So that grew up in that kind of like
Yeah.
environment. So I
Okay.
really had to figure things out for myself. My immediate family is my brothers right now, and they're very supportive of everything.
Yeah, seems like it.
They're very supportive, and it's really. I had a conversation with my sister-in-law, my older brother's wife, the other day, and I was talking about the trials and tribulations of having a business, because she has her own business too, a very successful one, and she was like, "It doesn't matter what people think about you. It does not matter." Because I was saying, "Oh, like everybody's proud of what I'm doing. Like I'm doing it. Like everybody's proud. Everybody likes it." And she goes, "Believe me, you've been doing this what 2 years, almost 3 years now. You would have known in the first month if nobody liked it. You would have known in the first month that nobody wanted this product, right? You've lasted this long. It's not about people, being proud of you. It's about you being proud of yourself and executing for yourself, because people are not going to be like, oh, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. Nobody's going to say that.
Yeah.
Nobody will, unless they're complete assholes.
Yeah.
Nobody will say that to you.
Yeah.
So you just take it at face value, and just all the compliments or even the negative
Comments.
comments. I know I never really get negative comments, but
Yeah.
you never know who's saying things.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You just take it face value. Thank you very much. Let it fuel you if it does, but you really got to believe in yourself to move to the next level.
I like that. That's the mindset. That's also another good advice too.
Yeah.
Like you have to have that mindset.
Yeah, you have to have that mindset.
After you look in the mirror.
After you look in the mirror. I mean, I've looked in the mirror plenty of times, and I'm like,
there's a mirror right there.
Am I built for this? Like, I don't know if I'm built for it. And then you make a sale, and then the lady doesn't know my name. She doesn't know this brand. She doesn't know anything.
She just thought it was cool.
She just thought it was cool and it was functional. She said that she's traveling, and it's like perfect for traveling. So it's like, that's what it is. And you just get that customer, and it makes you feel amazing because they believe in like your vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
For sharing your time and space.
Yeah.
Yay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.